All right, at long last, we are live. Long last. Thank you guys so much for staying with us in the chat. If you've been here, we are just a few minutes past the top of the hour now. Thank you for your patience. Apologize for the brief technical delay, but we are now live with Patrick Nairne. And we are going to jump right into our tutorial just as quickly as we can. I want to get you to the meat of everything. But while we're doing the intros, if you're here and you're live in the chat, please drop in where are you from? Would love to hear. I see like we've got a couple people saying they're from Switzerland. We've got Australia. We've got Chicago. Would love to see other locations that you guys are from. That chat, whether you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, or in our studio audience, comes through to us. We'll see them all. So thank you guys so much for being here. This presentation is all about building relationships that supercharge community growth. We have our very own Patrick Nairne, and Patrick is a presentation skills expert who helps coaches and community leaders maximize their impact in online events. We have an extensive bio for him, but as the content of his presentation will speak for itself, I would love to give you the stage. Patrick, tell us a little bit what we can expect from your presentation today.
Well, thank you very much for that, Mike and Misty, for having me at this event. And I want to say thank you for everyone who is tuning in. Just to let you know, I'm tuning in from London. So if you detect anything in the accent, yes, it is a genuine British accent. I'm in London right now. It's a bit warm. And what you can expect from this evening's presentation for me, because it's evening for me right now, is that I want to kind of share with you really why you should be thinking about networking. Because for a lot of people who are trying to start their community from zero or from one, which is just you, it's probably a good idea to learn how to kind of get networking under your belt, because it's going to help you tremendously. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the idea of, why should you network? What should you do to network? We're also going to talk about some real tips and tactics that you can use when you're going networking for the first time. And also when you're trying to do all of this in the online space, because this is really about online networking for those of you who don't actually want to go out and talk to someone. This is for those of you who like to sit in the comfort of your own home and do all the hard work from there.
Wonderful. What an amazing, I know I'm very excited to jump right in. I just want to remind everybody that our live chat, the live stream chat, will bring your questions to us. As you see, we've been able to feature some of the comments up on the screen here. So if you have questions, please filter them in. We're going to have a couple question breaks throughout. We'll aggregate these questions, get them all answered for you. Of course, we'll have some time at the end as well. And as always, I'll mention, if you do have questions that might be better served by giving your voice to them, you do have the option of, if you're in the studio audience, clicking the link to come up on stage on the bottom. You could do that microphone only or mic and camera. Otherwise, we welcome the questions in the chat. We'll make sure we log them all and loop back through them. But Patrick, let's dive right in. Please kick us off.
Good stuff. Thank you very much. So when we think about networking, it's a good idea for us to actually talk about what we mean by networking, right? So let me start by just letting you know that I'm a Gen Xer, bit old school, so I do things a little bit different. So sometimes when we're in this digital world, we like to do all the fancy stuff. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to do it in the way that John F. Kennedy did it, in the way that Martin Luther King Jr. did it, is to talk to you. We're going to talk about stuff, and it would be lovely to hear some of your voices today. So jumping straight in, let me just show you the old school way that I'm going to use. So firstly, you'll be used to seeing some of these things, and it might be a little bit difficult because my screen is now sort of squashed a little bit, but hopefully you can read what that is. And this is going to be sort of, if you will, the echo for our conversation today. This is an old African proverb. Every time I see it somewhere or someone says it, they say it's an old African proverb. So we're just going to go with that. And it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you want to go together. And I am hoping that most of you want to go far today, because the idea of us actually traveling along together excites me. I don't know about you, but I travel, and I like when I travel, if I'm the only one on the plane, I'm worried, right? I don't know about you, but I would definitely be worried if I sat on a big 747 and I was the only person. Sometimes when we have someone beside us, or just a plane full of people, yes, it's challenging. Yes, it's all good fun trying to get the overhead luggage stowed. You don't get it necessarily right where you want to, but guess what? It makes the journey much more fun, and it goes quicker if you're talking to someone. So shall we do this journey together? So if you are up for the journey together, give me a thumbs up or some kind of indication that you're on board for this journey together. And it will end a lot quicker than we imagine. I can guarantee you that. So thank you very much for those thumbs up. I love it. And I want to just say that let's talk a little bit about networking, therefore. So what is networking? As promised, we're going to go old school. So networking is interacting effectively. Yes, it's a little bit difficult to see there. We're going to try to get it right. But it says there that we are interacting effectively with people. So I didn't account for the fact that the screen would probably squash me a little bit. So I might have to move this around a little bit for you. But what's the difference between talking to people or interacting with people effectively and just talking to people? Well, let me give you a for instance. Everybody that you need to meet and you need to know is actually, has been proven, within 6 degrees of separation from you, which means that the people who you want to interact with and the people who are the right people for you to speak to are the people you meet every day in your supermarket, people who are on the bus that you ride if you ride a bus. If in the UK, we ride buses all the time. If you're in the US, probably you're driving to work, but I know some of you do take public transport. But your neighbor, the person, as I said, that you meet in the supermarket, the people that you do business with, if you go to church, your fellow church members, these are all people who are the people in your network. But guess what? We tend to not to talk effectively to them. We tend to say, hello, how you doing? How's everything? And we don't really talk the way that we should. So what we end up doing is we're doing that surface conversation. Now, a few years ago, and I couldn't fill everything in, of course, within my bio to let you know why it's worth listening to me. But a few years ago, when I started on my journey of work, by the time I was 27, I had gone through this thing called redundancy 3 times. And they said to me, Patrick, it's not you that's redundant, it's the job. Well, it didn't make me feel any better. But for those of you in the States, I think you call it being laid off, right? It's downsizing. It's all these different fancy words that people use to tell us that, you know, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. We won't pay you anymore. And the idea that we need to take from that really is that at some point, the things that we can trust are going to not be trustworthy anymore. And if you've ever been through that, go ahead, give me a thumbs up or tell me your sad story about how this happened to you. It happened to me 3 times, and I said, okay, I'm going to see if I can control my destiny. And what happened was, so you said being promoted to a customer.
That's
you want
a
to fill in and tell us a little bit more about that?
pejorative vernacular of, you know, our customer's always right, but you can't work here anymore, so you're being promoted to customer. Here's the door on your way out.
I like that one. That's a good euphemism. I love that one. I'll use that one for another time. And so the idea is that if you want to get control over your life, you go out and you do something. And very often that thing that you do, most of us, we don't know how to do it. We don't have the skills, the tools, and the talent to actually do it. So I decided I'm going to become a photographer. And I went out and I was good at photography. I could take pictures. I was all right. I studied photography. But nobody taught me how to do business. So what do you think happened? Well, my photography business didn't go so well. You know, I didn't really know what to do. And so I tried to network, but I didn't know how to network. I went and I spoke to people, but I didn't manage to speak or interact effectively with people. And I want to save you that strategy of just not knowing how to do it and having to learn the hard way. So that's what this is all about this evening. There is a better way. We don't all have to flounder. We can actually do this in a useful way. And I had to get this thing called a JOB again. And when I did that, I was still doing my photography business alongside that. And someone one day at a party of all things, this I think was a Christmas party that I was invited to, and someone said, do you network? I said, well, I've tried it. And they said, well, did you know that networking is actually the second most effective way to generate business and to get your customer to become more connected with you, to build a relationship with your customer? And I said, well, I've heard all of that, but, you know, I tried and it didn't really work for me. And they said, well, I'm going to invite you to a network. And this is something that's done a little bit differently. So I'm going to introduce you to someone else, and just watch for this. Remember, old school. This is a book, an old school book, right? It's like, it's digital, but you have to kind of move the pages a bit like I've been doing. And the person who wrote this book is actually an incredible guy, Dr. Ivan Meissner, who started a business called BNI. And so this person invited me to a BNI meeting, and I was able to network with people in a professional fashion. And this book actually talks a lot about the fact that networking online, networking offline, it's a few years old now. So some of the comments that are in there about online networking, well, they've been proven to be a little bit different today because more and more people are now networking online. But this is a good way for you to start. Just read a book about networking. However, you didn't come here to read a book. You wanted to learn from someone who can share with you a little bit about networking. So when we talk about networking, I wanted to think about what networking really means. And it's not just about talking effectively to people, but it's understanding a strategy that you give before you get. And if you go to networking and you do this thing that I'm about to show you now, you won't get very much out of it. So what most of us do is we go to networking and we do this. Anybody can see this? This is my palm. And we do what we call palm up networking, which means put something in my palm. Now, that's not a very good way to go networking because you don't leverage very much when you do that. And just in the interest of time, I'm just going to show you something because I'm using very many techniques today to teach you. And one of these is what we call a mnemonic or a memory technique. And what I was going to do, I was going to talk about how my hands are just a little bit dry, and I was just going to put this on my hands, and you'd be thinking, why is he doing that during the middle of this presentation? But here's what happens is I've just distracted and hijacked your attention and your memory, and you're not thinking, why is he doing that? And what you're going to remember is that when you are, dealing with your palms, palm up is the thing that we don't want to do. We want to take a palm down, which means that we are taking something and putting it in someone else's palm. So we're giving value first. And when we give value first in anything, we end up with this other thing that happens. And I'm going to put another book on the table. And for those of you, again, you don't like books, here's another book. This one is Influence by Robert Cialdini. And this book talks about reciprocation as being one of the best ways to create a relationship with someone who will give you something back. And he goes through a wonderful story of someone in a restaurant. Read the book. I'm not going to tell you the whole story because we just don't have time for it. But the idea is that if I do something nice for someone, they're very likely to want to do something nice for me in return. So this is all about psychology. Who would agree with me that sales, that networking, that customer service is really all about psychology? I'm going to put my hand up just so you can see it. So I agree with me. And for anyone else,
as a marketer, I agree.
Thank you very much for that, Mike. I really appreciate that. And when we start to get behind the psychology of it, what we start to realize is that our psychology is probably holding us back from networking, right? We've probably been to a network and we didn't have the greatest experience. And what do we say? Oh, it doesn't work. Well, we only tried it once or maybe twice. Okay, let's be fair. We tried it 3 times exactly and we gave up, right? And as one of my mentors says often is, if you had a child, a baby, and they didn't walk after, say, 3 months, would you just give up and say, this child isn't going to walk, or would you keep going? Maybe they're not a walker, but, we're going to keep going, right? And so the idea is that when you go to network, let's remember, it's the palm up is not the way that we want to do it. That's not the way. We want to do the palm down. And by doing the palm down, what we're going to be trying to do for that other person is really to find out, are we as networkers able to help each other? And we're going to go into a mode, which means that we're going to do this. We're going to use the 2 of these more than we're going to use this. We're going to use them in that order. We got 2 ears for a reason. I appreciate that not everyone has fully functioning ears. We get older. Some of us are born with things that stop us from hearing. But what I mean by this is pay attention, listen, be deliberate in listening. Because I can tell you, I've been to the networking thing where I just collected a ton load of cards. I went home and did nothing with them because I couldn't remember what each person did or why they would stand out for me to work with. So Dr. Ivan Meisner says that the point of networking is to be remembered. When you go to network with someone, it's to be remembered. Why? They're going to go away and they're going to talk to their friends. And let's just take the example of a person who is a plumber. That translates across the world, right? We all love plumbers, don't we? And a plumber is going to just say, I am a plumber. Now, are they going to be remembered? Are they going to stand out from all the other people who say, I am a plumber? Well, they might if they dressed a little bit like, Mario. And, again, for those of you who understand that sort of thing. But the reality is that they're probably not going to stand out from all the other plumbers. But what if you went and met this plumber who said, you know what? My job is to help the great British public to fall in love with hiring a plumber again. I mean, would that be something that would cause you to really say, wow, how do you plan to do that? So let's just start thinking about how we talk about ourselves when we network. Let's not just label ourselves. Let's talk about how we serve. What problems do we solve? Who do we solve them for? Let's be more specific about how we solve those problems. Because right now, in the neighborhood that you live in, whether you're a coach, you're a psychotherapist, whether you're an architect, there is someone in your neighborhood right now who is looking for you and what you do. I guarantee you. And the difference in being memorable is that the person who gets the job, who gets hired, who gets to network further, is the person who was much more memorable than you. So don't make things up. Don't go and tell people that you're Superman or Superwoman, you got a cape and all this sort of stuff. Please just be authentic. Say what you do, but maybe just take some time to figure out what the problems are that your audience have that you can help them with. So let's focus on the online space. Right now we're networking. I'm talking to you. I'm sharing with you what I do, how I do it, and hopefully I'm becoming memorable because some of the stuff that I did. Some of you will only remember, well, he did put some lotion on his hands. Okay, that's enough. That's probably going to be enough for you to remember who I was. But hopefully the value that I give you is not just in my hands. Yes, they feel nice, I can assure you, but that doesn't help you if you want to understand how to network better. So let's talk about what this whole thing is about. How do we supercharge our events through our community growth? How do we supercharge that through events? Well, the online space is a powerful space at the minute, which means that you can open up a Teams room, a Zoom room, or any other tool that you want, and you can actually get lots of people to come into that room with you. But most of you are saying, Patrick, I don't know anybody. And I'm going to say you do know lots of people, but what you just need to do is to really think about who do you want to be in that room with you. And for most of you, you're going to take something called the power of one. I don't know who came up with it. I think it was Bill Gates, but the power of one. Have one reason why people should be in that room. Just one. Not two, not three, not four. Just one reason. And if you take one reason and you really work with it, and you put the time, effort, and energy in, you will begin to see that there are going to be lots of people who have that challenge, that problem, that thing that they don't want to do. And for me, that was, I was going to lots of meetings and events. I'm good at photography. I'm good at teaching. I've been a teacher in a former life. As a corporate trainer, I do lots of training events, and I've done this, hundreds of times in corporates. But people kept saying to me, Patrick, you look amazing online. You look absolutely amazing. And I would say to them, well, it's partly genetics. I can't control that part. But what they really meant was, Patrick, you have great lighting. You're using the light right. You're using the camera right. How can I achieve that? And then just like that, the thing that I started to do was born, helping coaches and experts who really want to look good, look amazing online, to do that. And so I just started to share with people that's what I was doing. And then I said, well, who do you know who is looking for that? Because when you're networking, you're really not networking to the person that you're talking to most of the time. You're actually asking them, who do they know? So if you're really trying to get someone's attention, just can see that professionalism of your video and background memorable. Thank you very much. I love that, Michelle. And the idea is it takes just a little bit more effort, just a little bit more to get it right. And it actually doesn't take you that much longer. Someone said to me years ago, Patrick, it costs you just as much to get it wrong as it does to get it right. So why not just get it right? Why not just put the effort into the right direction? So let's get back on track, right? I've told you a little preamble. I've taken you down some blind alleys, and now let's get back onto the idea of the event. So you have the power right now to get people in a room in front of you to help promote your business. Yes, to help promote your business. Because the people that you're getting into the room to network with are people who become maybe 1/10 of their time in a day, if you're memorable enough, will be spent promoting you, because they'll say, when someone says, well, who do you know who's a great marketer? I can say, Mike, he's great at marketing. And this is the sort of thing that a person is really working towards. So this is what we're trying to do with the people in the room. And two problems are going to be solved for most of you right now. Because when you find someone who is great as a non-competitor to your business, but what they do is they share clients in common with you, or clients that might be close to the type of client that you're looking for specifically, they become a person that you can actually run an event with, because you're not competing with each other. And what you can do is we can talk about something and we can equally share that concept together and talk about how that serves our clients jointly. So when you're networking not just for people who want to talk about you and talk about your business, but you're actually looking for people who you might want to share an event with. And then you can actually talk through what you're going to do to serve your customers. Now, I'm just approaching that first sort of 15-minute segment where I'm just going to check in with you. Are there any questions that anyone has
Yes,
for me?
indeed. Let's see. We had one. It came in from Michelle through a couple of different separate comments, so I can't put them all up on one time on the screen. But Michelle writes that my community on Heartbeat is having trouble remembering that an event is happening. Does an incentive count? And this was when you were talking about the power of one. Do incentives to attend count as a reason to be in that room?
Now, that is an absolutely brilliant question. And when you say an incentive, the best incentive that's going to get someone in the room is something along the lines of this. I'm really, really hungry. I'm starving. Hey, I've got some food. So what you want to be thinking of, Michelle, as your incentive is, do you solve a problem that that person has? So I want to get you to think in terms of like a marketer solving a problem that this person has, because that's the biggest incentive that any of us has. When we are hungry, or hangry as some people call it these days, what is going to solve our problem is solving the most immediate thing that's on our mind. So yes, the incentive is there, but the biggest incentive is if you are helping them in some way to solve a really challenging problem for them. That's going to get them in the room. I don't know if that's answered your question. Please let me know.
Yeah, Michelle. Michelle says thank you. Wonderful. I think we addressed that. There was one more, Patrick, and then that question was from Becky, who I can pop this up on the screen here. She writes, "What does value add really mean? I know people use this phrase online all the time, but I struggle to understand what it means in practice."
Okay, brilliant, Becky. That's one of my favorite questions, because we all in some way in someone's life add value. And one of the best ways to kind of find out is to ask what value you actually add to the people around you. So what makes this really tangible is when people always come to you because you're the best listener. You're the person who's like that best friend. The value that you add is more tangible when you have that direct relationship with someone, because you can actually make more sense of it. They say, you know what, every time I'm really in a difficult spot, you come through for me like no one else can. So the value add is more of a tangible response to the person, the problem that the person has, and you're solving it. Now, sometimes solving can mean, well, it's over there, pointing in the direction. Someone comes up to you in the street and they say, I'm lost. Could you just point me in the right direction? Like, every time I follow this GPS thing, it sends me the wrong way. The value add is really when you awaken that person's awareness to the fact that you are doing something which they otherwise couldn't achieve themselves. So that's kind of like the best way I think I can put it. Let me know if that helps.
Becky says, I
Perfect.
love this answer. And she said,
Good
be right
stuff.
back. I'm going to ask my friends what value I add to their lives right now. Yes.
Exactly, exactly. And I think one of the ways to ask that question, if you're still here, Becky, or if you're watching the replay right now, the idea is don't just ask them what you do, but kind of like say, there's a reason why you keep me hanging around, why you call me. Let me know what that feels like. Get some emotion in there. What is the reason? What are they feeling when they call you? And when you resolve what it is, what does that leave them feeling? Because there's this great saying that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? That's the key. We need to really be solving not just a tangible problem, but sometimes it's the intangible things that are way more valuable. So, any more questions,
Oh,
or should we
wonderful.
keep going through?
We have just a bunch of love coming in the chat here. Yeah, so Becky's saying thank you for being so vulnerable. The vulnerability is great. The answers are great. Michelle is saying that she's got a wins channel to encourage members to celebrate the wins, big or small, and building connection. Rich was saying that right now we invite 4 plus groups of people to our events. And now we're thinking of only putting 2 specific groups into the virtual meeting space. So specificity is coming into play there
Yes,
too. Excellent comments, guys.
100%.
You keep them coming.
Thank you all for that, because this is why we do this. It really keeps us feeling good when we know that we're giving value and someone gives us in return that little confirmation. Yeah, love it. So we got up to some fun stuff, right? And we're talking about networking, and we're now going to drift into the segment which I think you're all here for. Is you want to create your own event, and you want to get people into that event. Now, we're not going to talk so much about the marketing piece of that event, but what we're going to talk about is the thing that you get when you go to the military of any kind is you get something called discipline, and you get something called implementation, right? So this is the piece where you need to become more disciplined and you need to implement. And I've got a free gift for you, which I got this thing some time back. I didn't come up with it, so please don't think I'm the one who came up with this. I'm good, but I don't solve all problems. And I also borrow things from people. But if you've ever been able to be in the back end of a television presentation when there's a person called a producer who is responsible for making sure everything works to time, make sure that the right people are on mic, make sure that the right questions come through. That person isn't just doing that because they're great at just monitoring things. They're actually using systems in the background that show them what should be happening and when it should be happening. And then they shout to people to say, cut to this camera, cut to that camera. Well, I haven't got one of those systems for you. So just in case I built that up a little bit too much and you probably thought I was giving you something like that, I haven't got that. But what I have got is something very close and something which will help you to achieve this. So when I'm running my events, I actually use these types of systems. And so I'm just going to share with you in a second. Bear with me a second. This is always fun when we got to share something, right? It did work earlier and I found the right thing. And I'm just going to share this with you now. So, and I can still see Mike. So Mike can just give me a thumbs up to confirm that you're seeing this wonderful
Looking good.
spreadsheet. Okay, Patrick, you've given us a spreadsheet. Well, wait. Just bear with me. So this has saved my events so much. This has been the one thing that I've used in my events that has made the single biggest difference for my events. After I figured out what one problem I was going to solve, and after I figured out who was going to come and help me solve that problem for my audience so that I could help them to move forward, then I had to think, how am I going to get this done? So what we're looking at here is that tool, but in a simpler form. And I like to keep things simple. If you start to see how I do things, you realize simplicity is the key. So what are we looking at here? Well, this is a schedule which is going to allow you to break down by columns all of the things that you're doing. And the thing about it is this is all done in a Google Sheet. This is really simple, and hopefully you got Google today so that I can share this with you later. And what we're doing is we're breaking down our event into the individual activities that we need to follow in order to make sure that things get done correctly. And what we've got is the phase of our event. Now, remember, we talked a little bit about there's a phase of marketing, getting people into the event. And then there's a phase where just before you go live, you do a few things. We refer to this as the green room. Well, there are things that you need to do. And so what I've done today is I've just started it at that, if you will, the green room phase. And I probably could change the color there, but I've just called it the presentation phase. So I'm just going to click to see if I'm in the right place. Good. So what happens is at a certain point before the event, what do we need to do? Well, we need to check the internet, right? Check the Wi-Fi. And I've said, well, how are we going to check it? Well, we're going to do this thing called a speed test. And many of you know, you type into Google or whatever tool you use, speed test, and a ton of different speed test tools come up. And then you're going to check the speed on maybe a mobile device. We're also going to check it on the device that you're using to present. And then you're going to confirm it's working fine. And then what do? You tick this little box over here, and then you move to the very next thing. You check the internet. This time, I recommend you check it on a fixed wire connection. That's what I do. I never take chances with Wi-Fi. Somebody in the home might just decide to start playing Fortnite, and then that's me gone. So the idea is that you want to just make sure that you do this the correct way, and then you check that off, and you keep going through. Now you might be thinking, Patrick, there's a lot of checking going on here. Yes, that's how we ensure that we get online with confidence. And just to give you an example, there's a particular streamer that I watch every now and again. He comes online and he's talking away, and he thinks he's doing the right thing, but he's on mute. Does this almost every time. Well, the idea of doing this is it's going to stop you from starting your session on mute, because you've checked off every step that you've taken. And just to let you know, by the time you get through this, there will be hundreds of different steps. And yes, this is part of the professionalism and the discipline. I believe your military says something like, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Those of you who are in the military, if I got that right or wrong. But ultimately, this is what we're doing to keep ourselves on track. So if you like this sort of stuff, if you're a person who loves spreadsheets, great. You're going to get Christmas coming today, whatever holidays you call it. You're getting that today because I'm going to give you this. But I'll just keep talking you through this for a second, because it's really important to understand that there are things that you're doing which are causing you so much anxiety, which you could just write down as a list here and say, tick it off. Because if I know I've done that, what are you getting? You're getting so much more confidence now because you have a system. Systems give us confidence. Every time we get on a plane, the person who's up the front, hopefully, they're doing this thing called a flight check, right? Before the plane takes off, they've checked, does the brakes work? Do the flaps work? All of these things, they do that hopefully before we get on that plane and before the thing starts to move, before we get airborne, shall I say. And this is the same thing. This is just as important when we are presenting to our audience to grow our communities, because what we're saying to people essentially is, this is how we're going to handle you when you're in the community. We're going to dot our I's and cross our T's. We're going to make sure that we do things right. And you're sending that signal and that message early to everybody. And so you'll notice some of these, the times may look a bit weird. Why is it that I go to 6 minutes before there? -6 is 6 minutes before, by the way. And then 25 minutes. Well, these can be in an order that may be physically sort of demanding. So, for instance, you might need to do the speed checks in that order because they're the similar activity and they're grouped together. Whereas finding, say, the meeting link may be in a different place. So I'm just grouping things according to how I would do them. But for you, you might be thinking, you know what, I'll find the meeting link a bit earlier before I do all of that stuff. And again, I'll turn on the PC. Make sure you put turn on the device or the PC. That's a really important one. You'd be surprised how many times people don't turn things on and then wonder why they don't work. We've all done it. Put your hand up. We've all done it at some point in life. Look, let's just face it. And then we log into the tool. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this, because what I want you to understand is this is all about the confidence, right? You want to look nice online. Here I'm going to click the share link for you so that you can see that I'm going to share it. So I'm just copying the link. And now I'm going to just put that into the chat for you. So if you're happy with this, if it looks like we've achieved purpose, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know, and then I'll just stop sharing. Okay, I am going to assume that I've got the go ahead to stop sharing because I can think time is actually moving on as well. So I'm just going to go back to maximizing, and I think that's achieved purpose. So let me see if I can just pop that into the chat. And
So
let's
anywhere
see.
you
Let
guys
me
are
know
tuning
if you
in
can see
from,
this, everyone.
the live chat will have Patrick's link once we paste it into the live stream chat.
Perfect. And let me know if you have access to it, because sometimes what happens is the first person goes in, they start typing things. Please make sure you make a copy, right? Just make a
And Patrick,
copy.
you
Don't
can always
start
send it to
typing.
us. We'll bubble that back up to the team as well, to the audience as well. I'm not seeing it in the chat quite yet. Yeah, actually, we have people expressing interest that they would find it so helpful. There we are. There's one there. Let's
Let
see.
me pop it in again and click send again.
Ah, there we go.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
Oh,
Very good.
I must not have clicked send. That's what it is. See, I didn't put a little button to say or step to say click send.
Clicking send would be a step on your checklist then, yes. And
It
yes, I will
should.
keep an eye out. We are a quarter of, so I do want to give you time check visibility on that as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. So shall we just double check on questions whilst we are in the right place?
Let's see. Did anybody have questions so far about this last section of preparation and confidence? We do have the Google link in the chat. If you guys wanted to explore, grab a copy of that, you can do that. Let us know if for some reason there was any issues there. Looks like so far we're in a good spot, Patrick. So let's crack on, as they say.
Perfect. All right. So we're going to close this down and we're going to do this in the way that only I can. Now, I would love to sort of draw these out for you because I had the drawing, but in the interest of time, we're just going to talk through this, okay? So the first thing that I want you to know is that I did actually make some preparations for you. So it's just a matter of me going off topic. But the idea is that we want to know how do we actually deliver this event, because that's the most important thing. How do we now deliver this event? So the first thing that you're going to do with any event is you're going to get your event tool. I use lots of different types of tools for events. For some types of events, you're going to find that, Teams or Zoom will work very well. But if you really want people to network, you're going to need to create some breakout rooms for them to be able to go into so that they can actually naturally move around. Now, I use tools that allow people to naturally move around and to go to two seats together and they can talk privately. No one can hear them. So if you have a tool that allows you to do that, go ahead and use that type of tool, because that's going to be the conduit through how we connect with people. And then what I have for you, and I'm just going to put my glasses on so that I can see this, because I have to admit reality here. I do need glasses. So one of the things that we want to make sure that we're doing, and I mentioned a little bit about this before, is the idea of the giving value, the idea of focusing on them. So in your event, you want to make sure that you're giving value and you're focusing on your audience. You're going to be genuine. Be yourself. Don't try to be anybody else. Don't try to be like these presenters who present in a flamboyant way that you're not used to. If you don't do that sort of stuff, just don't do it. Be you. And then be interested in the people that you're networking with and tell them how they can network within your environment. Don't expect that they'll know. Make sure you tell them what to do within the space. Tell them how to use it. So give them a navigation if necessary. Believe it or not, in 2025, there's still people who have not used Zoom. We take these things for granted, but there are still people who have not used these meeting tools. So please make sure you show them how to use it. We talked about the idea of when you're creating that space, you want to create it so that people can actually do in the space what they need to do. So remember, we're going to pick one topic for our event, solve one problem. So today we're talking about how to grow our communities through networking events, events that build rapport with people. We're not going to talk about anything else. We're just talking about that. So pick one topic, solve one problem for people, and that will allow them to navigate through the process. One problem, preferably one solution. Make it really easy for them. And then we're empowering them within that networking space to feel like it's theirs, right? We want them to know that they can actually talk to people. We don't want people to spam people, so we need to make sure we tell them the rules, right? Tell them if you've got any rules, and they're not allowed to just send messages to everybody. Make sure they know this, because most people, when they do this, they're not intending to be naughty people. They think that's just the way it is, right? They think that's how we network. But you're going to teach them that, give value first, then you get the person wanting to naturally connect with you. And then what we want to do is to have a little flow for how we're going to run our event. So the first thing that I would say is keep your event to around 90 minutes or less. 90 minutes is like a sweet spot, and we've done this in corporate settings for several years now. In fact, I started doing these in 2013. This is a long time before most people. And I used to use a tool called Cisco WebEx. And this is back before we could show our faces on screen, because the whole thing just wouldn't work on dial-up. Try pushing your video through on 40 something kilobits of data. And so we had to kind of like just show a screenshot of ourselves and do that as a basics. But what we need to make sure that we do is that we do the intro, the welcome, no more than about 10 to 15 minutes, at the most 10 to 15 minutes. And then we want to introduce the event itself, talk to them about the value in the event, how they're going to get that value. And that's maybe 5 minutes. And then we want to introduce the first speaker. Now, this is the system I use, is a 3-speaker system. Feel free to use a 2-speaker if you want. Introduce the first speaker. They are supposed to warm everything up, get everybody really ready, and they teach something which is valuable. And then you have a 10-minute breakout session where people can talk to each other about what's going on. No more than 10 minutes. Get your next speaker up. That speaker goes for, again, between 15 and 18 minutes, and they need to now teach people something that they can actually do. So they're going to need an activity that they can do, because after that breakout, they're going to go into the breakout session and practice that session. And then I bring a third speaker up, and the reason why the third speaker is there is because we're going to give something free. We're going to give away something free to everyone, but we want that speaker to talk about what the benefit of that free thing that they're going to get. And what we're doing in this process is we are funneling the audience. The people who are not ready yet are now exiting. They're taking themselves out of the next step. And what we're doing is we're funneling the people that we really want into that final step so that they can progress with us. So Mike, as a marketer, I hope you like that.
Oh, I
now,
do.
just checking in on time. How are we doing for time? 10 minutes to go?
We are 10 minutes from the top of the hour. And I do have looks like possibly 2 or 3 questions here as well. Would you like me to surface them now, or save them for the end?
Go for it. Go for it. I don't
Okay.
want to run over time. I want to make sure that we do all of this to time discipline, remember?
Yes. So from Julie, can you share the names of the tools, not Zoom, Teams, or Meet, that you would use that may work better for marketing? Any favorite tech?
Yes. So I use 2 tools. One is GoBrunch. GoBrunch is incredible because you can just set your rooms up and people can navigate really easily through them. It's very easy to join. You don't need any special plugins or tools to get into it. And the other one that I use is a tool called Remo. And Remo is really designed around networking. So you have tables, and the physical layout can be made to look like whatever you want. But those are the ones that I personally use. But I have also done this using.
I've heard
other
those being
tools.
used by others as well. So I think that's I can second those recommendations. Let's see here
Thank you.
from Rich. I will put this question up. Any suggestions on running online speed networking events? Maybe kind of the same answer. Is there a particular tech that facilitates that better?
There is one tool that I think might facilitate a bit better, and it's actually a tool called AirMeet, which works really well for speed networking. You can use Remo for speed networking as well, because it allows you to broadcast. But yeah, I think AirMeet is probably a more dedicated tool for that.
Okay. And then the last one I've got in the queue so far was from Michelle. What's the number one thing someone could do today to improve their appearance or sound on Zoom or live streams?
The first thing would depend on where you're coming from, right? So I'm going to just give you a basic here. So if you're on a laptop and your laptop is sort of like tilted back so that we can see your nostrils and we can see, the less flattering look, then the best thing to do is to raise that laptop up so that the camera is kind of like at your eye level. And you can do that using a laptop riser. If you have a webcam, then you can just get a webcam which is a little bit more sort of like what we call an SLR or a DSLR, a digital camera basically. And finally, the thing that to me is the most important is lighting. If you get good lighting, so you get a bit more professional lighting, bigger lights, and you just kind of like learn how to move them around, that will be the biggest and best thing you can do for yourself.
Wonderful. All right, so we're all caught up on the questions. Folks have been asking if these things integrate with Heartbeat. We have Zoom as a native integration on Heartbeat, but you can use that custom meeting link in any event on Heartbeat to put a destination link to wherever you want, including a physical address if you did meet offline.
Yeah. And
All right,
remember what we're trying to do is to get people into our communities, right? So just to backstep just a little bit, you don't always invite someone straight away. So let me give you a little tip about your community. You want to protect your community at all costs. You want to get the right people in your community. So just as you wouldn't on a first date invite someone to share a lifelong marriage with you, you're not going to do that for your first event. You're going to get people coming back to your event, maybe 2, maybe 3 times before you say to them, I want you to consider joining this community full time. You seem to like hanging out with us, so why not take the next natural step? So that's the kind of suggestion I would make for your event. Don't make the offer. Give them something free. Give them something to keep them coming back, of course. Give them great value, but pop the question when it's the right time.
Wonderful. I love that. Let's see. Yeah, just general concurrence, people who agree, other folks who've used Go Brunch. And we have some gratitude for your answers. Why don't you bring us home, Patrick? How do we want to land the plane on this topic today?
So to land the plane, that's a great question, Mike. The way that I'm going to say to you to land this plane is if you felt like what you've heard here today is good value and you feel like you've got some value from me and you want to say, Patrick, how can we continue this journey? We've had so much fun with you, Patrick. The first thing that I'm going to say is for those of you who are in the Hearth, meet me in the Hearth. That's the best place for us to actually meet and to connect and to take things to the next natural level. But for those of you who are not yet in the Hearth and you want the ability to connect with me, then I'm going to offer you an opportunity to connect with me on an event that I'm running on the 27th of May, where we will go even deeper in on this and you'll get to meet the other people that I normally speak with on this topic. And I'm just going to pop that link in now for you. So bear with me a second while I do that.
And as you guys are waiting for this link, think about what's your main takeaway so far from this awesome presentation. Think about that, cue that up in your head. We're going to share that as soon as Patrick's link comes through here. We're going to do a little bit of a waterfall of knowledge and takeaways. There's the link, guys. You can see live.remo.co is in the chat. I'll copy that out because this waterfall is going to push that down, and that's okay. So now, guys, thinking of the thing that you have so far as a takeaway, I want to leave Patrick with feedback. I want him to know that in this moment he's reached you and he's taught you some things. Let's click that when you can. Type it in the chat and click that through. Would love to set that waterfall off. All right, so you guys go ahead, click send on those messages. Would love to hear some of the things that you guys are taking away from this tutorial. Always begin a relationship with a gift is our first one.
Yes.
Excellent takeaway. That. Excellent takeaway. We have folks taking and internalizing that quote. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I know that one stays with me. One topic, one person per event. We have the palm down approach. We have give before you ask, and preparation is important. More palm down, asking your friends to get insight about yourself. Yes, what makes them want to keep you around? One reason people should be in the room with you. I think we've reached people, Patrick. I think we've hit them home with the main points here. We've got some excellent takeaways. Wonderful. Thank you guys for sharing all of these things that you have learned. Patrick, was that the last link you wanted to share? Because I have a little share I want to do at the end here as well, but I don't want to cut you off.
No, I think you've given me a wonderful opportunity to share. I think sometimes it's important to know when you've said enough and to move on. But I just want to thank everyone for your participation. You've been an amazing group of people giving me lots of encouragement and all the messages. I've wanted to sort of look at a few of them, but I'm just conscious of the time, and I know that an hour means an hour. So thank you all. I appreciate the fact that you could be doing other things and you came here tonight. So thank you. And thank you to Misty and to Mike and to the Heartbeat team for extending this opportunity for me.
We are very grateful to have you up on our stage. We've got gratitude streaming in from our live attendees. And I do, folks, want to share. Misty, are you able to share, or you want me to take care of this? I got this covered, I think.
Is my audio working?
It is slightly delayed, but I will. I think I'll take over just to take care of sharing this with you guys. So as a thank you guys for attending, I wanted to give you visibility into this offer. So if you guys have been on the fence, if you just heard about Heartbeat, you've been in the hearth, but you haven't spun up a trial to experience anything of what you can do to build a place for you to have these sorts of awesome connections and networking events, we're biased, but we think Heartbeat's pretty darn good at that. And so to make that leap a little bit easier, as a thank you for attending, we have an offer here for that you can get 50% off your first 3 months of the growth or starter tier, whichever one is better for you. And this offer is valid for the next 2 days. So by midnight Eastern time, US Eastern time on Friday, if you use the link heartbeat.chat/Patrick, it will let you start up a trial, and that trial will automatically have the discount available for you if you subscribe. So if you haven't taken advantage of that, please do. I do also want to call out the, go away, helper, there you are, the upcoming events that we have here in the Hearth. So we just did this Building Relationships event, but tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, we have our town hall. And this is where you guys can come and help us co-create the future of Heartbeat. You get to see the things we've been building and the things that we're going to release next, as well as some of the behind-the-scenes insight and get direct feedback to members of the team. And of course, coming up on May 21st, we have a very special event here. This is how to use Dungeons and Dragons helps you create content with create confident content. This is featuring Elijah Drown. He's one of our preferred partners, very creative individual, and he's teaching you how to apply that creativity using a very familiar and fantasy format. To give us some confidence in how to create content. So if you can attend that one, that's 1 p.m. on the 21st. Thank you guys so much for letting me share this with you. Misty, do we have any other links that we can share or bring them back up for the crowd? I want to make sure we don't bury anything here. I got Patrick's checklist and the 527 event. I think I'm going to try to paste that. We'll add it all to the replay. Excellent, excellent. So as always, thank you guys for attending these tutorials. Thank you for showing up, for learning, for sharing your questions. There will be a replay in the Hearth. If you have questions, Patrick is in the Hearth. You can always tag him for a conversation. Show up to the office hours that he does are also welcome. But thank you guys so much for tuning in live. Patrick will hang around and we'll be backstage once the live turns off. But to everyone who here is in our studio audience and YouTube and LinkedIn, thanks so much. We'll see you guys at the next one.
Thanks. Bye, guys.